What is our purpose? Does everybody have a purpose? Because we've been told forever that you have a purpose. Everyone has a purpose. So, if you don't figure out what your purpose is, you're doing something wrong, right? Well, maybe not. Because if you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, then you're doing what you want. So I guess the point would be to just keep running around trying to figure out what to do until you just get sick of it and probably keep failing at things because you're trying to find your purpose. But probably God's just waiting for you to just stop so he can work through you. But it's hard to stop in this world because we're just going so much, which is part of the plan, right? Keep you busy, right? You gotta work really hard, and then in your free time, most people like to watch TV, which I am just okay. I can't enjoy it anymore. I've watched my fair share of TV, for sure. I grew up watching it, right? Thank God it's Friday, all those shows, I can't wait, I'm gonna sit down and watch this, because it's numbing, right? You don't have to think, you don't have to do, you can just sit there and just veg out, because life is rough. So it's a nice numbing effect that we get from just watching. But nowadays, I abhor TV. It's literally laughable how stupid most of it is. I mean, all of it, really. I don't have a single show that I watch. And when I do hear of shows like Naked and Afraid and all these just weird, and when I watch them, it just seems so bizarre to me now, because I know what it's all for. And so I just think it's dumb. It's just really dumb. I try not to think the people that watch it are dumb, but it enters my mind for sure. But I was there once too, so I try not to judge too hard, But it definitely it crosses my mind okay, that's your thing, sure. But I guess my thing is just different now, because I don't watch TV, but I watch YouTube. But that's because I can specifically target what my interests are, which are obviously always if I have a purpose, the only thing that doesn't go away in me, in my spirit, is researching truth. It's just so interesting to me. I like to research truth. That's it's all I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. And it's never over, right? Because there keeps coming up things okay, well, what about that then? Well, what about the new earth? Are we on the new earth? Let me research that, because you never know. I mean, I was wrong before. Might as well look into this. And then, obviously, if this were the new earth, I would be extremely disappointed with as much as they hyped up Revelation, the new earth in Revelation. It's it's going to be great. And then we got people saying, we're in it. We're here. It's great. What? It hasn't been great for me. And then I've got comments yeah, that's a side effect of being a little seasonist. Pessimism. I have been a pessimist my whole life because all optimism was beat out of me. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally, until I no longer had a will to live. And I was just that's pointless. I'm not even going to try to be happy. There's no reason to. It's just I'll become a target if I'm happy, actually. So why would I do that to myself? Any happiness I have, I suppress that real quick. Be careful about that. But now, I'm trying not to do that because, I believe we should feel happiness. It's one of the emotions that God gave us. I try to laugh whenever I find something funny, not suppress it and just be totally depressed, because life gets old and depressing real quick if you forget how to laugh and you just stop finding the humor in things, which I was doing there for a while because I just wasn't able to. There was just nothing, I couldn't see joy in anything. And it wasn't from the little season. Like, if anything, it helped me understand why it's like that. And then I was like, oh, it sucks because we're in the little season. Okay. Thanks for letting me know, God. That makes sense. And that explains all the deception, which, if this is not the little season, then what is the point of lying to us about the shape of the earth, about all our history? Why? There's usually a reason why people lie. And we know, there's people behind the lies, but for the most part, the people that are teaching the lies don't know their lies, so they're not lying. They're just presenting what they know to be true, and we're believing them because they believe it, and we're like, well, we don't know, we haven't been to space, so sure, okay, it's a ball, great, okay, cool. Take your word for it, you got a picture, right? But then we start analyzing the pictures, and we're like, okay, we start analyzing the numbers associated with astronomy and the, revolution of the earth around the sun and the speed with which that occurs, which happens to be 66,000. They changed it recently, but it used to be, 666, and now they changed it like 700. Like, okay, they're on to us. Same thing with the tilt of the earth, which I think it's 24 point or 20. I don't know. But look it up. It's like 23 point something, and when you subtract that from 90, it used to be 66.6, but now it's 66.7. It's because, it was a little too obvious, because Satan, he likes to brand his great ideas and just put it right in our face, and we never saw it. We never saw it until somebody pointed it out to us, and then, because that's what we're used to, right? We would have never even known to look into it. We just go on about our lives, believing we're spinning, even though we can't feel it. Like, okay, well, they say we are, so I'm not the expert. So we put these experts on a pedestal, and we just believe what they say, which is ridiculous, because they're just people too, and they're just parroting what they've heard. So why would we ever listen to anyone? I don't listen to what anyone says anymore. I'll listen, but I don't just believe it. What I do is I put it in the back of my head and research it and compare it with everything else, and think about it, go read the Bible a little bit, look up the references that they've given, and put it all together and read it in context. I don't know, you can tell I've been in some comments. I can't help myself. I have questions, right? I'm not there to argue. I'm there to understand your position. I want to know, why do you believe this? Oh, okay, so you are saying that Jesus himself said that his kingdom's only spiritual. Okay, so why did he give all the descriptions for the new earth in Revelation? What a waste of space. Why say how many levels it is, how many, the sides and the doors and the height and the width and the breadth, and why would you give dimensions for a spiritual structure? That doesn't exist, right? If it doesn't exist, don't describe it in detail. That doesn't make sense to me. So, okay, sure, you're saying he said it? Okay, let me go read that verse, because they're saying, they give one little verse, and this is No Place Like Home's latest, or one of her latest videos, being blunt or something about the little season. And so, of course, I'm all up in those comments, because I want to know, what are their arguments, and I want answers. I want answers to my burning questions. So she said, yeah, he said it's a spiritual kingdom. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go read this. Sure, he did say it's a spiritual kingdom. Did he say it is only a spiritual kingdom? and there will never be a physical manifestation of that kingdom. It's only in the spiritual realm, and you're never going to see it. No, he didn't even say that. That's not what he was saying. If you read the actual verse, it has a context, and he was talking to, I'm not going to be able to think of names right now because when I'm on the spot, the names don't come to me, but it doesn't matter. You just go read, I think it's like Matthew 16:28, possibly. And he's talking to, whoever that guy is, right? Whoever the guy is that's accusing him because he's saying he's king of the Jews. And they're like, oh yeah, he's saying he's king. Well, what are you going to do about that? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you say I'm a king, so whatever, that's what Jesus is saying. Like, well, you said it. And we know Jesus is a king. He is the king, right? And the name of the person there, whoever, gosh, I don't know why the name can't come to me. Makes it sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do, because I went and read it. I just can't think of his name. I'll probably just put the verse up. So he is saying, like, why, have them come save you if you're a king. And he's like, my kingdom is not of this world. So at that time, yeah, he didn't have the millennial reign established yet. And if he did, he was there to die. Like, that was the purpose of him being accused and mistreated, because they were supposed to crucify him. And he was supposed to give his life for us. So he wasn't going to even have his spiritual kingdom come and save him or fight for him. So, I mean, it could have if he wanted to. Spiritual forces have intervened before, but they sure weren't going to step in because they knew the plan. So yeah, him saying my kingdom's spiritual, that doesn't mean that the millennial kingdom wasn't physical. You're just misusing verses to fit what you believe, and that's what we're trying not to do. So I'm trying to take it all as a whole, and if you read the context of that passage, I don't think he's saying it's only ever going to be spiritual, which means that we won't be able to physically interact with God in the 1,000-year reign. Well, I think that in the 1,000-year reign, people did physically interact, or at least they were able to. Maybe they didn't at all times, but maybe it was like accessible, or he could have been ruling on earth from a location that we could get to, and maybe that's why they did the pilgrimages. Hey, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out like everyone else, but I'm just saying that specific verse does not indicate that it's only spiritual. And then she tries to say there's another verse that says, because I was saying, he said also that you will, when he says to his disciples, some of you standing here won't taste death before you see me returning with my kingdom. I was like, to see implies a physical manifestation. Otherwise, what is there to see? If it's, spiritual in this realm, we're not able to really see things that are spiritual because we're in our physical bodies, and we just, but she's like, well, see in that case means to conceive or behold, I think. I'm like, oh, does it really? Okay, let me go look what she's talking about, because she's talking about the Greek meaning of the words. I'm like, well, I better know what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna go look it up. And so I went and looked up the lexicon and looked up the word. It was like oreo or something, or I don't know Greek, but I looked the word up, and to see means this word means to see. She left that part out because that was one of the parts of the definition, was to see, behold, or perceive. So she leaves out the part that actually does mean to see and gives the other part of the definition. So you can't just like pick and choose to just defend your current belief system. Like that's really not the way we do things. If we're trying to find truth, You got to be open to the fact that, well, he said see, what did he mean? Why would he not use a word that would more accurately describe? Like, you'll feel it, or you'll know it, or you'll be among it, and you're not really going to see it, but it's there. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't add up, because I was taking her rebuttals seriously. I'm like, no, but what about this? And she's like, well, that doesn't mean that. I'm like, does it not? Okay, well, let me go look it up. And I'm trying to be open and honest about what she's saying, and take it seriously, because maybe she's right. I want to know, is this the rip-off New Earth? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe I felt mistreated and scammed before I knew it was the little season. Then I knew it was the little season, and I felt scammed and ripped off because of the time that we're living in. And now I know why it sucks, but I don't know why it has to suck so bad for me and not some others that I see. But okay, at least it makes sense why it sucks, and I'm seeing some positives and some benefits to why things have to suck so bad for me. Just, my life and my childhood and the effects of that, and how it still affects me currently. It made sense. So Little Season helped explain that. But if this is the new earth, and he hyped it up like he did, and so there's going to be no more suffering, and Jesus will wipe away your tears, and there's no night, and there's no sea. And then she explains all these things like, oh, that's not literal. Like, it just means, I don't even know what she came up with for the sea. She made a whole video about it, but like, it wouldn't even stick, because I was just like, oh, okay. She's saying everything isn't literal. It's all symbolic. Okay. So now that means if she were right, you cannot trust what the Bible's saying, because it could just be saying something but not even mean that, like, at all. And I don't like that interpretation of the Bible. I don't personally think God's going to fault me for taking his Bible and his words very seriously and very literally. And if he does fault me for it, then he'll let me know. But until then, yeah, I'd rather take it literally, especially when we have like historical evidence. It's all right. I can't go back and like witness it myself, so I'm taking somebody's word for it and somebody's pictures for it. So, but like, they're historical, and biblical scholars rely on it to validate things and to date things. So it's probably valid. So like Josephus and the other people that have said, there was like this display and like a heavenly display of this and that. Like, I'm thinking these are revelation type happenings. So I think it's literal still. And I think all her, she was getting defensive too. And then out of nowhere, like, she didn't answer my rebuttals to her saying, the spirit, it's only spiritual, things like that. She didn't respond to those comments. But then she wrote a comment. She didn't like address it to anyone. She just wrote it, it just was a reply to the thread. So like, not to anyone in specific, I guess. And she said something like, you just posted a video saying Jesus isn't God, so I think our conversation is done. I was like, did I post a video at all? And I was the only one in the conversation, so I was like, so who posted this video? What video is she talking about? And so I made sure I went back to the video. I clicked newest, because that's how you got to do if you want to see all the comments. Otherwise, there could be comments that you're not seeing. So you got to click newest, and then you should be seeing all the comments. So I scrolled through all like 46 of those comments. I didn't see a single video about Jesus not being God. I personally don't believe that. I believe he was God in the flesh, and is. And that's just the way it works. And do we understand how that works exactly? No. No, but he's God, and if he wants to be the Holy Spirit, the Godhead, the overseer, Father God, and Jesus, Son of God in the flesh, he can do it. He could split off part of himself, be an angel for a little bit. I think he's even done that in the Bible before, and wrestled with Jacob. So, look, I mean, do I understand the Trinity? No. And have we probably been lied to about a lot of it? We don't know at this point. Almost everything has been a lie. But I have never claimed Jesus wasn't God. And for her to throw out something that we're not even talking about, and then there not even be a video like that, and then just drop out of the conversation, to me, I don't know. I'm just going to say I sense pride. Do I have pride? Yeah, I do. So I am not like pointing fingers like, you have pride and I don't. I'm humble. Well, she was the one saying, have you guys considered that you may not know everything? You need to humble yourself and consider you could be wrong. I'm like, what do you think we're doing here? We're literally watching your content, which is not what we believe, but we want to know what you're saying, and we want to ask you questions about what you're presenting, and we want to understand what you believe and why, because we want to make sure we believe the right thing at the current moment, because our beliefs do change, because we know we've been lied to. So we're constantly trying to reassess what we believe about things and make sure that we've got it right, because we had it wrong before. So pointing fingers like, you guys could be wrong. Why don't you be humble? You know what they say, when you point a finger at somebody, watch out, because there's like 3 pointing back at you. And that's so true. So whenever somebody starts accusing people and calling them things, like almost always, you can know they're tattling on themselves. Like it's almost every time. So I was like, oh, okay. So she's speaking from a place of pride because she's accusing us that we need to be humble. So she's saying, I need to humble myself. Maybe I'm wrong. But not knowing that she's saying that, because that's how it works. We project. And I do it too. And I don't even know sometimes if I'm doing it. But I do now, because I'm kind of like, as soon as I start to judge somebody, I'm like, uh-oh, I must have some of that in myself, or I wouldn't be finding it in someone else. I wouldn't even know what I'm looking at unless I saw it in myself first. So I know that I am the furthest from perfect. And could I be wrong? Could we be in the new earth? Well, I could be wrong. But I'm going to say right now, I'd be very disappointed if this was the new earth. Because I'm looking forward to that. And if this is the new earth, where's God? Like, I thought we were supposed to be like with him and stuff, and like no more pain and no more suffering. That was what I was looking forward to. And she keeps also, look, I'm discussing the comments. This is like, she puts her videos out. I watch them sometimes if I can make myself. I made myself watch that video like once or twice, and then I was like, all right, comment time. And then I'm reading, and you know, there's some people who are like, great video, you're awesome. Don't listen to the haters, you know, they're blind, and like, I'm like, okay, they think this, that's fine, whatever. But I love when I find a comment that's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And sometimes I'll join in and be like, you know, sometimes I have something to say, and so I'll say something. So I'm not there to argue, I'm there to learn. But anyways, like, I'm sure it's okay that I'm making a video about my thoughts about another video and what they're saying about biblical topics, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's like the only thing I know on this earth that is true. And, you know, the fundamentals of this argument are, can we believe what the Bible says for what it says? Or is it saying a whole nother thing that is cryptic and, you know, doesn't mean what it says and all this? Because if so, that's going to change everything. And I mean, I'm obviously open to it, or I wouldn't have watched the stinking video in the first place, and I wouldn't even be in the comments interacting in the first place. I'm not there to argue, I'm there to learn. So I'm actually asking questions because I want a response. I'm like, please tell me if you're right and this is a new earth. Why did he describe the new earth so vividly if it's not a physical thing you could ever see with your eyes? Like, why give a physical description for a non-physical thing? And please tell me why. Why all the lies? Why the lie about the shape of the earth? Why the lie about where we're at in the timeline? Because even if it is the new earth, they're lying about that. And if it's the little season, they're lying because they're saying we're still waiting for him to come. And a lot of, people that don't believe in the Bible have pointed out that Jesus lied, right? I mean, he said he was coming back, like, quick. Like, some of y'all won't die before I come back, and he still hasn't come back. Some people have noticed that and, like, turned away from God in the Bible and don't believe it. And that's valid. But they forgot to think, well, maybe he did return. But then they don't realize that we've been thoroughly brainwashed and lied to. So, is it possible that maybe he did? Is there any evidence that he did? Well, I believe there is. If you just look. Like, you got to start researching. And that's why I like YouTube. Because you can actually look for what you want to look for. They've made it a lot harder. But back when I was researching this in the first place, like, flat earth and stuff like that, you could search for flat earth and get a good rounded bit of results. And, like, even in I didn't even find it myself. I was never even researching that because I thought it was dumb. I was like, I first saw that in my recommended under a video I was watching, like, on the Illuminati or something, because that's where I started first. I was, like, researching that, secret societies. I even learned all about MK Ultra and mind control. I read Fritz Springmeier's, like, multiple books on how they can create an Illuminati mind control slave through trauma and basically through trauma and drugs and stuff like that. I mean, I was all into that and researching that, and then in my suggestions it was like flat earth, and I was like, that's dumb, and I just scrolled past it. But like a week went by and it was like still kept coming up, and it was a good one. And I eventually clicked it, like, what is this? No, I just want to see how dumb this is. And I watched it and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I was not convinced. It took me a while before I was convinced. I had to look into the science of it. I had to look at the pictures. I had to look at the moon footage. I had to look at, like, every aspect of it. And then the last thing I thought was, like, I don't know why it was the last, but the last thing before I was like, all right, it's starting to look like we have been lied to. And then I was like, I need to really see what the Bible says about the shape of the earth. Does the Bible say anything about the shape of the earth? And then I started looking into it, biblical proof for the flat earth and stuff like that. And there were still videos to be found. Nowadays, you put that in there and good luck. You have to find somebody probably that's a flat earther, tell you who to watch if you're even going to try to watch a good video. Otherwise, you're only going to get controlled opposition in your search now. That's just the way it is. But back in when it was still findable, yeah, I was like, all right, let's see what the Bible says. What are people saying the Bible says? Let me go read the Bible myself. Oh, I need to be reading King James. Okay, so I switched to King James. And, I don't know for sure if King James is the only valid translation, but I use it because right now, based on the limited knowledge that I have and based on what I've heard, and that, that's the oldest translation that I'm aware of in our language, then I just use that. And when I read it, and then I read, I think it was Job, whenever he says that the earth takes shape like a stamp, like under it, when you stamp it with a seal, And I just got the visual of, you know, like they had those rings where they're like stamping and it's flat, and whatever the like gooey stuff is that they stamp it into, well, it squishes up on the sides and then it creates like a image with dimension. I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. And then of course controlled opposition will come in and say, oh yeah, flat earth with just the water spilling out over the sides, and then you just see the flat earth like floating in the universe with, you know, all of the fakery behind it that we've associated with, and so it looks dumb. But no, like if anything, just show it all in one snow globe type thing, and that's what we're probably actually living in. And that would make sense with God being on the outside of it and being like, this is my creation here. And it would make sense, the verse is like, he looks down on us like we're grasshoppers, and he can like look down and like watch everything going on. But if it's a ball, like wherever he is, he can only see part of it, not the other side at any one given time, you know, until it rotates around and then it's like spinning and like, you know, no. So it didn't take me long after I realized the Bible corroborated that position, that yeah, we're not on a spinning ball. If you look into just, yeah, I don't know, probably most of the people that are listening to me already know, and that's not that many, obviously. But yeah, I'm just talking through everything that I believe and why I'm where I'm at, and yeah, it's been a ride, and that was probably like, I'm gonna say 5 or 6 years ago. So, and I had already woken up to like the medical stuff. Like obviously that was the first thing where I was like, okay, you cannot trust this system. You can't trust doctors because they're just giving you what they think is healthy, and you got to know what is it and what's in it, because they're not going to tell you. They're just going to collect checks. And if they're getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies, then you better do your research on what's in those pharmaceuticals, because they're not liable, because they're just following the standard of care. And as long as they do that, then they're safe. But they're actually not safe if they say, you know, I don't think that we need to be giving you any medication for that. Why don't you just change your diet? Or why don't you like try some castor oil or something like that? Like if they do that, then they are not following the standard of care, and then they can get in trouble and lose their license. So can you trust them now? No, because they're not going to give you alternative solutions, and they're going to suggest things that actually could kill you and do kill people. Look up black box warnings. Like a lot of the drugs that we take, including ibuprofen, they can kill you like immediately. So, you know, that was the first thing that made me just opened my mind to the fact that this world may not be what it seems, and people are believing a lot of things that aren't true. So I thought I would talk about why I deleted all my videos. And the main reason is because something happened in my life. It was kind of a false alarm, but also serious. So it was like, you know, this, and I don't even want to go into details, and it's not even relevant necessarily. But what happened is my husband's work, he sells recycled computer parts and buys them from companies to, you know, destroy them and sometimes refurbish them and sell them. And he's the sales for that. And so he can access who has looked at the website. And so that way he could reach out to them and be like, hey, you know, I saw you visited the website. Did you want to look into selling some of your refurbished computer equipment or whatever? We can do that for you. And it'll tell like who looked at the website. And so after this thing happened, that was kind of a false alarm, but it was also serious, and was also like, I need to, you know, make sure my child is healthy and is okay. And it was the one that was in public school, and I took him out shortly after because you know, mental health is important, and if something is negatively impacting one of my children's mental health, then I'm going to make some changes. And so we took care of that, and we're trying to help that situation. And it came on my radar that the Department of Health and Human Services had looked up the website that my husband works for and visited the website. And my husband mentioned to me, and I was like, what? Like, okay, like, I haven't done anything wrong, but like, I sure don't want them in my life or anything. And so I thought like they were like researching, like, I thought they were looking into me and looking into my husband and looking into my life. And I was like, F that. I don't even know what I've said in half my videos because I just talk. I'm just gonna put them all private and let them sit there, and like, I just don't want it out there right now that I even struggle at all, because you never know, like, they might use that against me, that I'm not perfect or something. I don't know, even though I try my absolute hardest to be a good mom. And so, you know, I think that's all we can do is like try our best and like learn, and like learn from what our parents did and do differently, and, you know, work on our own mental health and how we manage our emotions and all that. And so that's like my journey, and that's been what I've been documenting since I made my channel, is that it's been hard to recover from all that trauma and to then parent in a way that I'm not triggered all the time. And so I would make videos when I was super triggered. I would make videos when I was learning things. And I was like, I'm not going to go through and listen to all my videos. I'm just going to take them all down and put them private. And then I was like, I don't even know if I want to do that, because I don't know who can access my private videos. So I'm just going to delete them all. So I just deleted them all. I didn't think it was worth it to even have it out there. Sometimes I say too much, and I was like, they're gone. I'm getting rid of them. Even some of the ones that I could have left, I deleted. I think I left up like a few like recipe type videos, and then the rest I just wiped clean. And I probably shouldn't have done that, but what's done is done. And I did it because my family life, you know, and they, you know, having them is more important than my channel by far. So I was like, gone, swiped clean. Even though I enjoyed those videos, I even watched them sometimes just to kind of like validate my own emotions and giving myself a voice, because the way I grew up, I wasn't allowed to talk much. That's another reason I talk fast, is because like, if I was allowed to talk, I better get it in quick, and it better be good, and I better not like pause or anything like that, because they're going to jump in. I'm not gonna be able to finish what I was going to say. And it was like that. So I actually got to a point where I didn't really talk like much at all. And I felt like, honestly, that I was so boring. It was a trigger for me if anybody were to yawn while I was talking. I'd be like, see, I knew it. I knew it. I'm boring. I should just shut up or learn how to talk or something. But it's possible that I did start talking boring because I didn't believe that I had anything of value to say, and I didn't believe I had any value. So if you don't believe in yourself when you talk, people don't believe you. And so they don't want to hear you if you don't believe in what you're saying. So I believe in what I'm saying a lot more these days. And I've come to the point now where like, I don't care what anyone thinks. So like, if you don't like me and you don't like the way I talk and you don't like what I'm saying, fine. Like, go listen to someone else. Like, no harm, no foul. Like, bye. So I had to get to that point though in my journey. I used to care, like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? Oh my gosh, what are they thinking of me? Oh my gosh, they yawned. Oh, I'm boring. But that was just one of my triggers from my childhood. So I learned, I just don't care. And so I just don't care. And I don't care if I lost all the views. I mean, I care a little bit because, like, I don't know, I'm still a person, but I had some good content on there and a lot of good comments I wanted to go back and read that were validating for me, that helped me through some times and helped me to realize that I have value and stuff like that. It sucks, but they're gone. Even if I could search through somehow and get those videos back, I wouldn't like repost them as new at this point. But yeah, that's basically, I'm just like going off on rants. I don't even care. I just wanted to like share like why I took down my videos. And I don't want to give like super a lot of details because it's personal and related to somebody that's my child, and It doesn't need to be on the internet, so. But anyways, it was all related to somebody looking at my husband's webpage and me thinking they were after me. And I was like, I'm taking it down. It's gone. And other than that, what was I even talking about? I don't know. Yeah, I always talk about the new earth because I have to make sure I know what I believe. And if things come up that are worthy of me considering, which is almost everything at this point, then I'm looking into it. Especially biblical topics, theories. Like, I'm looking into it. But yeah, I'd be disappointed if this is the new earth. Like, no. Yeah. If you can't see the depth of the enemy's deception and the depth of his damage that has been done in the past 4 or 5, 6, probably a little bit more generations, like the past 200 years, 300 years, if you're blind to that, then you must have either had such a sheltered, pretty darn good life that you think this could be the new earth, like that you must have had a pretty easy life. Because just because we have a laptop and can go to church where they lie to us, and where they lie to us through our laptop too, and where it also like takes away our physical connection, and now people are just like on their phones all the time instead of like interacting with people. Like, if you think that means we're on the new earth, and just because we get to eat, a lot of people don't. A lot of people are starving. Like, I mean, I don't personally see them, but I've heard they are, so I don't know that for sure. I just know my personal experience has been so hard that it doesn't even vaguely align with even a spiritual interpretation of a new earth. Even if you want to say, okay, it's not a physical thing, it's just spiritual. Well, even spiritually, I would expect like some comfort, some of it to translate somehow. Otherwise, what is the point? There's no change. It's just still going to be completely evil and awful. And like, have people that believe in the new earth, like, have they not yet researched the MK Ultra program and how to create an Illuminati mind control slave? Like, what they do to those kids? Like, there's just no way. There's no way that Satan isn't still having his effect. And I've heard Satan may not be an actual entity, that it's like in our minds that we carry a part of him. Like, I don't know. I haven't totally like been able to find a good video explaining what that fully means. But when I read the Bible, it's always seemed like he's an entity. Like, how do you kick out somebody from heaven if they're not an entity? It seems like it's a somebody. So, I mean, I believe spiritual. We don't understand the essence of spiritual beings well enough to know what that even means. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that would work or what it means, but I know some people believe that. And I'm not denying that we don't have like evil within us that constantly is trying to bubble up and like have its way. That's true. And I don't even know that it necessarily has anything to do with Satan. We're just inherently flawed, probably from the fall. Like, I don't know how that works either. I just know that, yeah, we're just not perfect. Even when we can like try really hard to like be perfect, it doesn't happen. So, and that's why we need Jesus. And that's why he's so merciful, because he set it all up to be able to save us. And that's what's most important. So I just theorize about all the other things because it's interesting to me, and because I only think my purpose thus far is to figure out what's true and to heal and to be a good mom. Like, other than that, I don't know. I'm just going to finish out my days here. And if God wants to use me for something, then go ahead. I'm open to it.